I was working one evening, and I'd gone into a patient's room. I was working in IV therapy then, and I just, tapped him on the arm, and I said, sir, I'm going to have to give you a little needle stick here. And he says to me, do a lot of people die in this hospital? And I said, well, probably not more than the usual amount. I said to him, does that worry you? And he said, yeah. I said, well, are you afraid of dying? And he said, yes. And I said, well, what's your biggest fear about that? And he said to me, I killed somebody. I said, like in the war? Because he was older, like maybe the age of a World War II veteran. And he said, no, when I was a teenager, I killed someone. He said it was an accident, but no one ever found out. He had been carrying that his whole life. And I said, do you believe you can be forgiven for that? He said, I don't know, and I said, well, do you believe that Christ can forgive you? Do you believe God could forgive you for that? Do you want me to pray with you? Would you accept God? Would you accept that forgiveness from him? And he said, yes. I prayed that prayer of salvation with him that night in that hospital room. I was shaken because, that was an exchange in all those years I had never really had with someone. So the next day when I went back, I couldn't remember his name, and which was unusual for me because I could always really remember people's names. So I thought, oh, well, I'll just look at my papers from last night. Well, when I got back to work, my papers had been shredded, and I went to his room and he was gone. So I think that God just had me there for that very moment to hear that and to be with that man. Hi, my name is Jean Priebe, and this is my husband, Larry, and we've been coming to Mountains since 2001.
I remember coming here in the springtime of 2001. When 9/11 hit, it really struck it because this church opened its doors and really catered to the community. And from there on, we felt this is our place. To listen, to understand, it doesn't hurt to stop and listen, not to try to fix, but understand what that person's going through. No sooner they start talking, we're starting to formulate a response to them, and we lose out on what they're saying. And it's got to be practiced, and I know lots of times in a marriage, we kind of overstep each other to try and get our point across.
Yeah, so I went to Kenya in 2011 and 2012. I figured since I was a medical person, I definitely would probably be working on that team, but lo and behold, that team was all full, so I spent the days that we had there knitting with a group of 8 women. I'm a knitter, so I take knitting everywhere I go, so, I'm passing out balls of yarn, and we're going to knit now, because when you knit, you talk, and I got to talk to them for all of those days. Over time, they would tell me stories of their lives and their struggles, what they were going through, and it was enlightening to me because in many ways, their lives are very similar, but in other ways, our priorities were different. Many of the things that they told me were very unfamiliar to me, unfamiliar to my life and my lifestyle. There really wasn't anything I could say, but to just hear it, because, really, people just they want to be heard. Things that I would think would be the most important to me were not at all important to them. What you think might be the priority isn't the priority at all. Some days their day was all about getting water.
And I remember on the disaster trips we went on to Sandy Hook or down to Crisfield or down to Florida. We're here to fix things. We're here to put things back together. But be prepared to share with the individual there. Be able to take time. It's okay to stop and talk with the people to get their story.
You definitely see a lot of things that you think need fixing. We would want to spend time maybe doing stuff like that. We found it more useful to just really actually ask the people. We need to spend time talking with those individuals and asking them, hey, sit down with us because we're going to eat lunch now.
That's the most important thing because they have a story to tell. They survived this disaster and you're here to provide some help for them.
Hear the people, listen to them, and see what their real need is.
Jean was in the prison ministry for women, and I would mention to her that that would be something that I couldn't do. But God had a different way of doing it. So when I went out to the Apache reservation, he said, here's an opportunity that you're going to do. And we went in, 5 of us went to this prison, which is truly a hardened area. And I thought, well, I can do this when I get back. So when I got application in to go into the detention center to do the ministry there, and I guess that was in 2012 and been going there ever since. And when that door opens and then it goes shut, you're in for the real stuff. And you get into a conference room with 8 to 10 guys, and it was just like being in a small group with men. You could talk to the guys, and men go through the same problems, whether they're in prison or not, and we just share those experiences. And you're trying to provide to them a degree of hope. I think it's comforting to know that I'm not there to convert them. It's not prideful. I go in there to understand, to hear them, hear what they're saying. When you listen to God, you listen for those whispers, those nudges.
Let God fill me.
And look for them. Look for where God is doing it.
You have to be open to do whatever it is God's going to put in front of you.
And get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
We're here on this earth to be the best for God. When you go on mission trips, it's expect and see. Expect and see where God is leading you. We're there as doing the best we can, whatever age we're at.
All of this is happening in front of me. Okay, God, I'm trusting you. It doesn't take a massive amount of time to just ask somebody how their day is going.
A short text to someone, how are you today? And receiving those texts stops you to think, oh my gosh, someone's thinking about me. I need to respond. Being at a mature age in our lives now, time is precious.
I think just listening to people, it's just such a gift to give to someone if you're full on, locked onto them.
The gift of time.